Hi everybody, we're just waiting for a few more people to get on and then we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. Do you not love this paper that our designer Joy put together? Oh my gosh, we're loving it. So here is what we are doing on the very first kit. Here's all these spaces for photos here. Also, this flips down over the front of your page protector. It opens up, has this cute little flap here, and then more spaces for lots more pictures, and it closes right back up. And we have some layered peace, love, joy Christmas ornaments, and even more places to put pictures over here on this side. So we're going to give it just a few minutes here, and a few seconds anyway, and then we're going to get started. Oh, are we ready? Sorry, I was just reading my notes. Good morning, everybody. We are so excited to be here. And just like I said the last time we did an live event, it's raining outside and it's blowing and it's cold here. But I did just get back from Iceland, so this is an improvement from Iceland. But we have a full day of fun things for you. We have 3 double-page layouts, and then Garage Mary will be in at later on to do the very last class. And Stacy's going to be here to help her with that one. So we're looking forward to a fun day with you guys. And here we're going to get started in just a minute. Is that enough time, do you think?
I think so.
We have a few people on, and I don't want to leave anybody behind. While we're doing this, we'll go over this again, but we have some things coming up for, next year has to be completely planned out by now. And January 11th, we're going to test out all the convention classes, 6 classes, and that's at the Holiday Inn here in Chehalis, January 11th.
Chehalis, Washington.
Chehalis, Washington. Oh yeah, not Chehalis, Tennessee, or not Chehalis, Florida.
State.
Chehalis, Washington, at the Holiday Inn, January 11th. That's a full day of 6 different classes. Upland, California, the same thing, but we'll do it 2 separate days there on February 8th, and then again on February 9th. We have a whole list of CK conventions that Viv will be teaching at from A to Z. And we will have a March 1-day online event, just like we're doing today. So that will be March 29th on a Saturday. And we also have private reserve locations, and we'll give you that in just a little bit. We'll go over these again just so you can jot them down. But they'll be on the website, and I do believe that private reserves are on the website. Am I right there?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And you get a deal if you sign up by the end of the year for the 3-day events.
Right.
Private reserve events. So.
I think it just went live yesterday, and there was a bunch of sign-ups. So take advantage of this great deal we got for the next couple of weeks. So anyway, now we are going to get started.
Get set up here. So throughout the classes, we'll have some prizes every time our train goes by, because we are really close to the train tracks. Most of you know we will be giving away a prize every time the train goes by. You don't have to email us or anything. We'll just let you know.
So
and then we will ship out a prize to you.
So keep in mind that, though, if you signed up somebody else and we have 2 or 3 names under the same name, and so we'll have a 1, 2, and 3. Am I right? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So if you bought 3 kits for 3 different people that you're doing them with this weekend, they're all in the name that ordered them. So go ahead and point out. So if Sally Johnson bought 3 kits, you have 3 Sally Johnsons there. So you have to have Sally Johnson 1, Sally Johnson 2, and Sally Johnson 3. So if we pull your name, you know which one you are. You can designate that now.
Or if you're the one that bought them all, I would say maybe
you get the prize.
Yeah. Okay, look at this. Isn't this just gorgeous? All the little books and all the vintage ornaments. And so I think the very first thing we should do is go ahead and cut the labels off of our sleigh ride paper here at the bottom. So grab your trimmer and let's trim off these labels. So we have 2 12 by 12s. And do the second one also, and then it's ready to go when we are ready to do page 2 also. And keep your trimmer out for just a minute because we do have one more paper to cut, and it looks like this, okay? So I'll give you a minute to get those labels cut off. I'm going to set this aside for just a second. Give you a minute to get those labels cut off, and then I want you to get out this paper here, and also this diagram. So you have a large sheet of paper for your instructions, and then you have a smaller 8.5 by 11 that has your diagram on the right here. So get that out, lay it in front of you, and I'm going to go ahead and let you cut this paper out according to this diagram. It's much easier for you to do it that way than for me to tell you what they are. What I would suggest though is when you get this diagram out in front of you, all of these papers are 11 inches long. So I would take and cut going the same way as the grain, like this. You're going to cut 1 inch off the bottom. I'm going to trim off that label to begin with. So take the label off, and then I'm going to cut 1 inch off the bottom to start with, because if you look here, this is an 11 inch, 11 inch, and 11 inch. So take that 1 inch off the bottom, and it's kind of important that you take it going the same way as the wood grain. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Then your pieces will just turn the other way. So not a big deal at all. So once you trim off that inch, go ahead and turn it. So now you're going to be cutting through the grain this way, okay? Turn it so you're cutting right through the grain, and that very first cut will be 4 inches. Okay, we have one piece at 4 inches. That next cut will be 5 inches. And then that remaining cut is only 1 inch. And then you have this little scrap of paper. So if you dare throw it away, you can do that. But some of you are not going to do that. I can see that already. Okay, and then that's all the papers that we need to cut for the moment anyway. So let's put our trimmer out of the way. And let's grab one of our background papers, and this is a background paper. And again, I'm going to show you what our goals are here for page 1 before we even get started. I showed that in the beginning just a little bit, but some of you probably weren't on. And we're going to put together the little ornaments, but the one that has a little bit of trickiness to it is this little flap. Now, for those of you who have never done our kits before, this flap is designed to, you tuck all this down in your page protector, and this goes down over the front, and it has more space for more photos that way, okay? So that's what we're going to work on pretty close to the beginning. I think we're going to put together the ornaments and set those aside to start with. And what I'm talking about is if you haven't punched these out, you're looking for a large red circle with a little flat spot and a snowflake, a medium red circle with a flat spot on the top, a snowflake, and a small red circle with a snowflake. So I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and locate those pieces, and if you haven't got them punched out, go ahead and punch them out. And if you don't have everything totally punched out, don't worry, it's fine. There will be a couple things that we do at the very end, and those things for sure are going to be the word peace, joy, and love. We'll do that at the end. So locate red large, red medium, red small, and your coordinating snowflakes. And they all have a little bit of a flat spot at the top. And that's how you're going to match them up and glue them together. Now, I would suggest if you're going to chalk, I didn't suggest the chalking inks, but some of the suggestions are peppermint stick. That's a perfect one for this one. It's like a real vintagey deep red. Weeping willow, that's a nice green. Avocado, that's also a nice green if you want to use that one. Amaretto, if you want to make it a little bit more vintage and using some of the browns, which we did a little bit on the edge of this green. So either way, choose your colors and chalk these up a little bit. I'm going to use peppermint stick. This one says avocado. My kids make fun of me because I put the wrong lids on, but I don't go by the lids. I go by how pretty the color looks, and I just pick it up from there. So if you're new to chalking, it doesn't take much, and there's no perfectly right way. Everybody does it just a little bit different. But see how it just changes the edge of this just a little bit to make it a little bit more vintage looking? Okay, and let's go ahead and do, now I am suggesting not to do the white, and now that's entirely up to you. Sometimes white is fun to do. Sometimes I like to have the white part just stay nice, crisp white color, and it shows up really well. But if you want to chalk the edges of the white, choose your color and go ahead and add some color to the white if you choose to. I'm going to leave mine just plain white. So I'm using peppermint stick on this. I like that. You know, our new inks are coming up, and I think Stacy will show you those after a while. And there is a brand new one called Ruby. We have a gemstone collection coming in. I'm not sure exactly when they'll be here. It takes a little bit of time, but it's called the Gemstone Collection, and there's one called Ruby, and it's be a nice change, and also to use like the peppermint. So go ahead and chalk those up, set your ink aside, and now we're just going to take some adhesive and add our snowflakes to our red pieces. And the flat spot, see, if you look here, we have a little ribbon at the top. That flat spot's just so you know how they go on together, but that ribbon's going to cover up that flat spot, okay? And since mine's a sample, I won't be putting a lot of adhesive on. Stacy, are you right there? No. I just need some Barely Art glue off of my desk. And I'm using my tape runner on this, but for these tiny, tiny, I don't know if you've used the Barely Art glue, but we love it. For tiny little things like these little snowflakes, it just comes out with the tiniest little spot of glue that so handy that you don't need much in order to hold it in place, but it just makes little dots, and those little dots will hold down tight. And I will tell you though that this stuff dries really fast, so if you decide you're going to need to move it a little bit, I would use tape runner because it does dry fast, but it also doesn't warp your paper. So go ahead and add all your snowflakes to your red circles, and then we're going to just set those aside, knowing they're all ready to add when it's time. Okay, 3 snowflakes, or 3 ornaments. And I wouldn't worry about getting every little end of each snowflake, because once you get this on, it's going to be in your page protector and it's going to stay flat anyway. And it also avoids getting too much glue so that it kind of oozes out. Okay, so we have our ornaments made. We're not going to do right now, we're going to save till the very end to do peace, love, and joy. And that's all 3 of these are double layered with green in the back and white in the front. But just hang on to those pieces and we'll do those at the end. Takes a little bit of time, so we want to go ahead now and work on our book. So I'm going to set the ornaments aside. It's crazy that Christmas is sneaking up on us so fast. Okay, here's our background paper. Actually, I'm not going to get this out just yet. We're going to start right in with this, with making our book. And you're going to need your 12 by 12 green dot paper. And we're going to need to do a little bit of scoring. So if you have a scoreboard or a score pal, great. If not, we can use our trimmer. And it shows you, if you want to follow along, with your instructions, and this is your bigger sheet of instructions, but right here is your green paper, and it has little red dotted lines that John's put in so that you know where your score marks are. And so it tells you you're going to score it at a 1/2 inch, you're going to score it at 5 inches, and you're going to score it at 10.5. So if that's a lot to remember, look under photo 1 on your instruction sheet, and right below that it tells you your green paper score at a 1/2 inch, 5 inch, and 10.5. Okay, so we can do that together, but if you get lost with that, go ahead and look at photo 1. It tells you exactly, and then it shows you also. So first score line is at a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to turn it around. Oh, we got a train already. Some Saturdays we have lots of trains. Other Saturdays there's very few.
So we have everybody's name in here, just so they can see the bag. Everybody's in there.
Okay, I'm going to draw. Oh, John already drew a name. Okay. Teresa Pratt, you are our first train prize winner. Congratulations. We'll get a prize out to you. We have your information. Good job. Okay, again, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. And if you've never scored with your trimmer before, some of you will have an actual scoring blade. That works really slick. If you do not have a scoring blade, you can also use an embossing stylus that has the little round ball on each end. The one with the bigger ball works the best. If, you know what I use a lot of times, because I'm lazy, I don't want to dig out my scoring tool blade. This is a crochet hook. It's got this nice little round end, and that's what I use a lot of times. A bone folder works really good too. Here's at a 1/2 inch. So if you're going to use any of these things, I mean, you could also use a credit card or a room key kind of thing. But do a medium pressure of your score line. If you score too hard, you're going to cut your paper. Okay? So you want it so it's foldable and makes a nice neat fold, but you don't want to press so hard that you cut the paper. So first score at a 1/2 inch. Second, and then you're going to slide it on in until you're at 5 inches. Okay, and then your second score is at 5 inches, and again a nice medium score line. So I do it kind of lightly twice, 2 or 3 times. I don't put too much pressure because I have been known to cut right through my paper. So a 1/2 inch here, and then slide it on in till you're at 5 inches. Okay. And then slide it on in until you're at 10.5 inches. And again, I do 2 light score lines. And if you have a scoring tool, really you only need 1 pass through, and it makes a nice score line. Or a bone folder also makes a nice score line. So once you get 3 score lines, let's take this out. And you can go ahead and fold it whichever way folds the easiest to begin with. We'll go back and refold again, but it helps to get it kind of limbered up, and then you'll be folding it one way or the other. So let's limber it up just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over so you can see the flowered side. And then I'm going to fold the 5-inch piece over. Here's your, okay, right here is your 1/2 inch. And this is your 5-inch. So go ahead and fold that over. Then eventually this will get folded back and glued down. But what we're going to do next is I want you to locate this piece of paper that looks like this. This is the little tab, has a score line, and this, if you look here, this is the tab that lets people know that you have a place to open your book. And that tab is sandwiched in between that 1/2 inch and your 5-inch piece. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. So locate your little tab that looks like this. It has a score line right in the middle, okay, all the way down. Fold that in half and glue it together. Fold in half and glue it together. And if you're going to add some color, I would to it right now. The part that will show, I'll show you this again, part that will show is this rounded part, okay? These little anchors, or these little tabs that are sticking out on the top and the bottom, those are the things that will hold it into your paper. And I'm going to show you what that means in just a second. But just keep in mind, these little tabs are the anchors that don't let it pull on out. I'm going to use some Weeping Willow and chalk up the edges just a little bit. And both sides will eventually show, so you could do both sides, add a little color to both sides. So that tab, you will fold it in half along the score line, glue it together. Then that is the little vehicle that will help you open up your book. Okay, here's the only really tricky part here. Okay, so here is your 1/2 inch fold. Here is 5 inches. And then out here is your 10.5 from this edge, okay? Fold this along your 5-inch fold. And then here's your 1/2 inch right here. And then eventually that's going to get folded back and creased, okay? But what we need to do first is we need to make this little slit right along the score line of your 1/2 inch paper. And in order to do that, you take your tab, and this is hard to see because these are both the same color. These little anchors, eventually you will slide it through here, and there's your tab, just like you see on here. Okay, there's your 1/2 inch here, there's your 1/2 inch here, there's your tab, that we have made a slit right here, just big enough to fit the round part through. These little anchors are what holds it into your page. And then this will eventually get folded back, okay? And I'll give you in dimensions here in just a second, but that's how that works, okay? So it's just, we just slid the round part through, and then these little ends, these little anchors are what holds it into your book. But we will actually glue it down so it's even more solid. So what we need to do first is, move this out of the way. Okay, so we're back to, here's your 1/2 inch, here's your 5 inch. You're going to lay your tab on so that, and you're going to take a pencil, or, I mean, it doesn't really matter, it's not going to show. I'm going to take a black marker so you can actually see. You want to make a mark on, well, here's my tabs. You want to make a mark just at the, where your tab starts to form the half circle on that end and also that end. So see here, there is your, that's exactly where you're going to cut. And you're going to start from about 4 inches down from the top. And if you don't get it perfectly in the center, it doesn't even matter because it's all by itself. Even if you get it down lower, it's okay. It's just a little piece that's going to help you open your book. So see, I've made 2 dots right here onto the fold. Let me measure that and I can tell you about how long that space is. Mine says 3 3/4 apart, those dots will be. And then you can either take your scissors, and I am going to use an X-Acto knife. I'm going to lay this underneath here, and then you're going to start at this dot and just use your X-Acto knife or your scissors and cut right down to the next dot. Now if you find when you go to add your little tab through that hole, if it's not quite enough, you might need to slit it just maybe a 1/16 of an inch more. Okay? You know, I'm going to do that one more time just in case it's kind of confusing. So here we have our 1/2 inch piece. Here's our 5 inch. Here's our score line for our 1/2 inch. We're going to fold this tab in half, glue it together, add a little chalk if you want to. And you're going to measure from where the round part starts at the top and put a dot, and measure down to where the round part ends at the bottom and put a dot, and those dots go right onto the fold of your 1/2 inch piece, okay? Then you're going to use your X-Acto knife, stick a piece of chipboard underneath or something pretty solid, and then use your X-Acto knife or your scissors. I found with the scissors it was a little harder to make a nice sharp straight line, but it's doable, so that's up to you. And I'm just going to cut from one dot to the next. And there I have this opening here. And I have my tab. Okay, does everybody have their little slit here in the this tab is going to slide through, and those little anchors will hold it in place. And it's really hard to see because they're both green dot, but the anchor sticks up above the dot here and it sticks down below the dot here. And add some, I'm going to just add a little adhesive to the back side of this. Glue it in place. And you don't have to have a lot, because what happens now is you will fold this 1/2 inch back. Okay, so now I've glued it in place. And eventually we're going to glue this 1/2 inch back, but not just yet, because we're going to add a piece of paper here. So did everybody get how that works? Cut your slit here onto your 1/2 inch, slide in your tab. It's going to help, these little ends will help hold it in place. And then you can fold this back, but don't glue it just yet, because you need you have a 4x11 paper that goes here, and it just kind of covers up the edge of that tab right here, okay? So you're going to put that on before you fold this back, because it will cover up that edge. So 4x11 paper that you cut in the very beginning, and here's where we used some of the amaretto or one of your browns. Roots is another good one, mocha. Because this already has some whites and browns in it, and it just lends itself to real vintage colors, so we might as well go with the brown. But that's up to you. You know, the green would look really pretty on this. If you chose the red peppermint stick, that would work well too. I always like to do a little bit more on the corners. So chalk as much or as little as you want, and then this will glue on centered between the left edge and your score line. Go ahead and glue that down. centered top to bottom, centered left to right between the left edge and the score line. And then that right edge will cover up that little tab just a little bit and holds it in place even better. Okay, 4 by 11. Chalk up those edges with whatever color that you choose. And now, once you get that all glued down, we are going to add some adhesive along this little 1/2-inch piece. Okay, so you can either use your tape runner or a little bit of your Barely Art glue or whatever kind of glue that you or adhesive you use. And this just takes a tiny bit, but just know that once I put this down and do this a few times, it's there to stay, okay? It doesn't peel up like you can with the adhesive or the tape runner adhesive. Sometimes you can peel the tape runner up just a little bit. This glue is permanent, and it's permanent real quick. Okay, so we have that part of our book done. Excuse me. And then we have a little bit to do here on this side before we put it onto our page. You have a quote here that says, "Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year." Go ahead and cut that out. And then you also have this 1 by 11 that you cut out in the very beginning. And I'm going to show you here on the finished one. Here's your little flap and your 1-inch piece here. And then on the inside is where your quote goes. Okay, so go ahead and trim out the word Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year. Add your 1 by 11 white strip with the board paper. Chalk that up a little bit if you want to, and I'd also check up these edges just a little bit on with some of the red. It won't show much, but it would show a little. So once you get that done, so the white board 1 inch is on the green side, and then as you open it up, your quote, "Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year," goes right on the inside of that flap. Slow down a little. Yep. So let's take a minute here and cut out. I'm gonna, I can cut this out with my trimmer, but sometimes I just love to cut things by hand just to see if I can cut it nice and straight. I know that's silly, but I like that. I like to cut. I've always liked to cut paper. Even when I was a little girl, I made paper dolls like crazy out of newspaper. I mean, we didn't have gorgeous papers like we have now, but newspaper served a good second. And I used to make, I know some of you will understand this, but if you're younger than me, maybe not. We made our glue out of flour and water paste. Have you ever done that, John?
I think only on the piñata.
Oh, and that's like a paper mache that
like
you
a high school.
make, yeah. So yeah, we were poor. We didn't have glue, even Elmer's glue. So, Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year. And here's your leftover flap. So remember, this is 10.5. We scored all the way over here to 10.5. So this is your remaining flap. Here's your first one that we worked on. Here's your remaining flap. Okay, that's going to go right here. Okay, and then probably want to add the same color of chalk on this 1-inch strip that you added to the front of your book, and I'm using the amaretto. So there's really no right or wrong way to chalk things. A lot of people do this, and I do that sometimes, but sometimes I find it quicker just to run it down really quick like that. And I'm going to close this part of the flap to the green dots and add a little adhesive to the back. And this will just go on as a decorative strip to the green piece. And see, I just now put that down and it's almost sticking already, and I want to move it just a little bit. So there's pros and cons of using double-sided tape and glue. Glue like this dries pretty quick, but it also has that teeny tiny little nozzle that your glue can come out in little tiny dots. Your tape runner, you're able to move it just a little bit easier. Okay, so there we have the basis for our book. And right now, let's open our book up. Give everybody a minute to make sure they get their strips on. So here's your white strip with the boards, 1x11, and then your Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year, goes on the inside of that flap. So while you're finishing that up, take a look for, you have 3 squares, and I believe they were die cuts. Yep, I could feel the little tab on the edge. 3 squares that have little ornaments on one side, and they're part of the book paper on the other side. And these would be fun to add a little bit of the, I'm thinking, the peppermint stick to the edge. Kind of like that. It's got some pretty little red pieces. Oh, I hear a train. We need a train prize. Okay, Lucy Flint, you are a train prize winner. So we will get a prize out to you. Congratulations. You are a winner. So locate your little squares like this. Chalk up your edges with whatever, you know, the green would be pretty on this. Weeping willow or avocado would be really pretty. Brown would also be pretty because you've used that once. The peppermint stick is also really nice. So there's several things that you could use on this that would work perfect. So a little bit of color on the edges of those. And I'll give you a little bit of time to get these put on. And there isn't right side up to these, so you might want to be careful when you put them on to turn them so that the little ornaments are hanging right. And then again, these are going to be centered from the left side of your page, and then there's your score line, so centered in between those. And space them equally apart. one's a slow one. It's not racing by like they do. Okay, we'll get this in place here. Okay, so I'm just going to recap just a little bit so make sure everybody can catch up or we can all be on the same page. There's just one or two more things that we're going to do to this. So we've got these 3 squares on to the left side of our book, centered in between the score line and the left edge of your book. We put on the little tab by cutting a slit at the 1/2 inch mark and then folded that back. We added our white paper, our whiteboard paper here. Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year, on this flap, the inside of this flap. And then the outside of the flap, we added a 1x11 board paper. So while you're finishing up that part, I want everybody to kind of keep an eye out for this paper right here. I'm going to tell you the measurement is 5 by 2. 5 by 2. Looks like this. So locate this piece. It's 5 by 2. And I will show you what that is going to be. Here's the finished page. And that is the piece. We will glue part of it to our book here at the top. And then the other part will be glued around to the back side of our background paper. And that allows your page to flip up and stay on the outside of the page protector. Okay? So, I want you to take this 2 by 5 piece of paper and you're going to fold it in half lengthwise and crease it. 2 by 5 paper, and it's got green dots on one side, poinsettia on the other side. Fold it in half lengthwise and crease it. Okay? Okay, then what we're going to do is open up our book. Does everybody have this folded in half lengthwise? Open up your book, and what we're going to do, I'm just going to lay it on for now to show you how this works, but we're going to center it, and you want to kind of fold this up so you can see where your score lines are, so you know what the center is. You're going to center it and glue it on to the top of your page like this, making sure that the score line or your fold line is at the very top of your book. And you want to make sure it's at least at the top, maybe just a hair over, because if you don't get it on high enough, you can see that this is not going to fold over, okay? So this is what you're going to do next. This is fold this in half, unfold, open your book up, center this right between the score lines. And you're going to add some adhesive to the back side, to the green dot side, and that will glue onto the top of your page, making sure, and the way to make sure of that is if you get that glued down, quickly just bend it over, and then if it's not enough, you haven't given it enough space, it'll force it to give yourself a little space so that this will fold easily over the top, okay? So go ahead and glue that down. So this is what it should look like right now, glued here. And now we're going to get our background paper book's at the bottom right. And then this is in, and as you can see from the finished one, it's in probably an inch to an inch and a quarter, somewhere in that neighborhood. So inch to an inch and a quarter. I'm going to say an inch. That should be just about right. And I'm going to open this back up. So this is about where you want this to end up, okay? That's where your book, the left side of your fold of your book will be. And then you can turn this over. And here's your flap that's sticking up above. Add some adhesive to this flap. And I'm not putting a lot because mine's just a sample. It probably won't be used because I have to write on things. Okay, and then this goes in about an inch like this from the left-hand side. This will, you want to make sure that it's straight up there because that's what will make it straight on the rest of your layout. Okay, so I folded it around to the back side and glued it there. And now my book will open and stay on the outside of the page protector. Okay, so I've glued half of that strip onto the book, and then I folded the rest around to the back and glued it to the back side of your background paper. So all the hard parts are done. And let me know if that you didn't quite get that. I will make sure I do that one more time so you can check it out.
Somebody said they're missing the long strip for the Christmas thing.
Oh, it would be this right here.
Okay.
And it was in there by itself.
Okay.
It looks like this.
And see if maybe it is flipped over and looks like just a piece of white.
Right.
It might have got put in that way, and it's kind of easy to miss.
Right. And if you are missing it, it's no problem. We will stick it in the mail. That'll be easy to put on. So
You just have to,
email us and let us know.
yeah, email Breezy. It's customer service at shopquickquotes.com.
Okay.
And they'll get it right up to you on
Okay.
Monday.
Okay, so then just a couple more things. Now that we have this on, we're going to take our 5x11 board paper, and it will glue on over the edge of your tab that you glued on. It will glue on the over, and we're going to chalk that up a little bit, glue it down. Okay, chalk that up just a little, and we're going to glue it, center it between the score lines again. And it covers up the top, or it covers up the edge of this, which really doesn't show any way because they're both floral prints, and you really can't tell the difference. And this is your 5x11 board paper. I don't mind crooked when it's supposed to be crooked, but if it's not supposed to be, that will make me crazy, so I have to peel it back up and straighten it out. Okay, so there's that. And then the only other thing that you need to remember, and I'm not going to do this with you or for you, but you have underneath, when you open this up, 3 red mats, and you have those in your kit. You can chalk those up whatever color you choose. They go underneath. Okay, and then we're going to add some of our ornaments. And your ribbon, you have a long piece of this vintage red ribbon, And I'm going to give you the measurements to what you cut it to, so you can go ahead and use this. And if you didn't catch what I said, it's all cutting measurements are always at the very top left of your instruction sheet. And it says right here on 1, 2, 3, 4, on the 5th bullet down, cut your ribbon into, you want 4 pieces that are 10-inch. Okay, again, 4 pieces that are 10-inch, 1 piece that's 6 inches, and 2 pieces that are 4 inches. So locate your instruction sheet and underline that so you can just look at it and go ahead and cut your ribbon. So I'm going to, we have about 5 minutes left, which is perfect, 5 to 10 minutes. And then you'll have some time in between classes so that you can finish this out. But I'm just going to lay out some pieces here, show you where they go. Now here's a 6-inch. 6-inch ribbon goes here, a 4-inch ribbon here, okay? And then have a couple more things. Then you can add your ornaments, your big one and your little one, okay? Remember, big and little. Then the medium one goes on page 2. You also will want to add some brads to the corner of your journaling piece, and then that will glue to the front of your book. You also have a little quote that we put in the bottom. That's up to you if you even want to add that or not. You might want to put pictures there instead. And then your 3 pieces here. Another piece you can add or not. You have it if you want to add it.
So we're going to do one more train prize because that train, it was still the same train, we think. Not another one honked. It was just like the longest train ever. So,
Oh, it was, wasn't it? Okay.
in case it was 2 passing, we'll see.
Okay, Cynthia McDonald, you won the second train prize from this maybe one train. We don't know yet. Good job. Okay, then page 2, super simple, super simple. And I'm going to let you work on your own on this for a little bit. On 3 of the ornaments, you're going to tie yourself with the 10-inch ribbons. You're going to tie, and I know some of you struggle with bows, and everybody has just a little bit different way to do a bow. And mine have done it this way for so many years, I just continue with not doing it one of the new ways because I'm old and I don't learn new tricks very well. So 4 ribbons like this, and 3 of them will go on your ornaments like this, and 1 of them will go over here on a photo mat. So with that said, I'm just going to show you the photo mats. You have this one is also a photo mat. Once you put this on, you're never going to know there was a hole in it, so we use those. So if you put through this in the trash, you better dig it back out and iron it. And there's that one. Same with this one. It has a hole in the middle, but you're going to add your green mat over the top. And then you have a square one here with a wood piece here. And that's it. Once you've finished that, you will add your little words, peace, joy, love, to your ornaments, and you're done. So what do you have to, do you have anything you want to let them know, Stacy, before we close down here?
So I will let you know the special that we're doing for today, and it's just for today for people who are watching, just for this weekend. And we are doing, let me find the kit. Okay. Where's that card kit?
It's in my office.
Oh. Just a package one I got. Okay, had to grab the kit. So we messed up, and we actually did this as an add-on last month that you could get. We accidentally made double of what we normally make up for card kits. So this weekend, if you want to get an extra card kit, you get this one free if you place a minimum of a $30 order, which is easy to do. We just have lots of extras. It's going to show up close to Christmas, so that's why you're getting this crazy good deal on it, because I know some of you have already purchased this, but if you want another free one, it comes free this weekend with a $30.
Okay, I'll
Order.
buy one.
Okay.
Put it on my bill. Anything else?
I think that's it, and we will be back at 10:30 Pacific time for the
Okay.
next class.
All right, we'll see you later.